Hello, welcome. So I read a really good devotion that someone had done. Beth Moore from Houston, who's a nationally known Christian writer and teacher. Um, Beth Moore, and she had done something on out of Ecclesiastes 3, which is that common, um, well-known verse about the seasons. There's a time, and so she had this really great devotion from that, on particularly off of one part of that. And so I started looking at thinking like, well, why not on the daily devotions? Let's look at doing maybe a book study or a review, a Bible study review of a book. So I started looking at Ecclesiastes. And what I found is that it's a pretty dark book. It's a lot of looking at life as some kind of absurdity. Like the favorite vocabulary of one is the word all, which is like everything. Like it's like, oh, everything is. Um, Toil, which is not toil like work, like our Protestant work ethic, but it's like it means anything we do, anything we're striving for, trying to do, it's just toil, toil like that. Wisdom is there, but it's not wisdom as like we would think of like really wise sayings, I guess, and it's certainly not God wisdom because Koheleth, which is the Hebrew name of the book, Ecclesiastes, is means the teacher. So this is about the teacher, and there's not a lot of God in here, not much at all. It's really not a book about God. It's a book about human life, humans in life, and how we live, and it's all meaningless in a sense. So I'll tell you, it's a lot of darkness there. But wisdom, fate, that it's a sign that God's determined everything. There's this idea God is sovereign and has this plan, and no matter what you do, you cannot avoid your fate. No matter what you do, you can't avoid your fate. It's happy or unhappy, content or not content, rich or poor, male or female. You can't avoid your fate. It's just that way. And so this is Ecclesiastes, and so I thought, well, not a better book to maybe look at then for the time that we're in right now. We're around coronavirus and all the despair that might be around it, especially in some sections. I don't I don't see much of that in where we live because we're enjoying we're one of those places in the country that enjoys a low rate of community transmission, and so we don't have levels of sickness and death that are surging in our hospitals and in our homes. And sometimes I have a hard time being grateful for that because I think guiltily that I'm thankful that it's not me, but man, it's somebody else. And I think that gratitude is not misplaced though, and we should be thankful for for the place that we live in and that we're not experiencing that, but also we have to be mindful of and participate with the best we can with those who are suffering through this. So, but I think Ecclesiastes might be something to look at. Look at this as an experiment. I really want, after you watch this, and please type some feedback over here into the chat section as you go through it and ask questions about it. But it's I grew up in a place called Eccles. I went from 11 years old on. Eccles is where we went. My grandparents, the Hendersons, were from Eccles. My mom was from Beckley, so that region of Raleigh County in West Virginia. But Eccles was short for Ecclesiastes, and that is the Greek, more like it's the Greek title for the book. Koheleth, I said, was the Hebrew title, the teacher, and it becomes like the preacher here, Ecclesiastes, the one who preaches, because it comes from the word ecclesia, which is the gathering. So we see ecclesia in the New Testament. We're talking about the gathering, the faithful. That's what we're looking at. So I got both of those, and teacher, preacher, and I'm part of the gathering. So I'm partial to that, and I always think about that. So this is supposed to be like it's gathered into a part of the Hebrew Bible called the writings, and those are the things that are either are not part of the Torah or what are considered prophets, but the other books, Psalms, Proverbs, Song of Solomon, Ezra, Nehemiah, First, Second Chronicles, those that are not considered prophetic books, but other writings. That's where this comes from. I guess it's lumped into like the genre wise. They were talking about whether it's wisdom writing or whatever, one of the writers, but it's more like it's a group of ruminations that this author puts out. And up until from verse 1:1 to like 2:11, in the verses in this book in Ecclesiastes, you kind of get the sense that, oh, this is Solomon, and that's where we would think. But after that, it says no. After the king, someone else is writing and narrating here. So Solomon was not most likely not the author of this book. It's just nobody knows. It's dated somewhere before Daniel, probably somewhere between midway through the 4th century of BC up to about 200, somewhere in there. Certainly before Daniel came into canonical form. That is the book that they put into after they gathered it and edited and done whatever they do to it to put it into Hebrew Testament. And so it's that kind of time. So it has probably around Alexander, when Alexander was unifying the world around his way. So Hellenism and Greek thought and all this stuff. Because it's not a strict traditional ancient Hebrew, antiquated, yeah, easy for me to say, verb of form of Hebrew, but it has a little more Aramaic in it, which would have been more towards that latter dating before Daniel in there. So that's some of the nuts and bolts of it. But now we're going to start with 1:1. And we're going to read through the first 11 verses today. And if we get some time, maybe we'll go on into 2, but we'll just finish the whole thing today. How about that? We'll do the first chapter. There's 12 chapters, 222 verses, and we'll look at this. So we get our author. Let's go. The words of the teacher, the son of David, king in Jerusalem. And then I'm reading the New Revised Standard. Vanity of vanities, says the teacher. Vanity of vanities. All is vanity. What do people gain from all the toil at which they toil under the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises and the sun goes down and hurries to the place where it rises. The wind blows to the south and goes around to the north, and round goes the wind. And on its circuits the wind returns. All streams run to the sea, but the sea is not full. To the place where the streams flow, there they continue to flow. All things are wearisome, more than one can express. The eye is not satisfied with seeing, or the ear filled with hearing. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun. Is there a thing of which it is said, see, this is new? It has already been in the ages before us. The people of long ago were not remembered, nor will there be any remembrance of people yet to come by those who come after them. The teacher, when king over Israel and Jerusalem, applied my mind to seek and to search out my wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to human beings to be busy with. I saw all the deeds that are done under the sun, and see all is vanity and a chasing after wind. What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. I said to myself, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my mind has made great experiences of wisdom and knowledge. And I applied my mind to know wisdom and to know madness and folly. I perceive that this is also but chasing after a wind. For in much wisdom is much vexation, and those who increase knowledge increase sorrow. Let's pray. Lord, in the moments ahead, as we consider the words that we have just heard and read, I ask you to make a place for them in our hearts and minds, that they would inform us to how we can indeed better live. That maybe indeed it is not all true what we read here, but that you have shown us another way through your Son, Jesus Christ. Help us to discern, to take and learn wisely. to not chase after wind. Amen. So that just this, and not make you laugh. What I thought of here was this. I thought of depression, and that this is, and they're writing in this is that someone who seems just really unhappy, that is struggling with the sense, trying to make meaning of what's going on in life and around. And we always will talk about, not just preachers and teachers, but folks that we as parents and grandparents and friends, to talk about, the void and trying to fill it. That there's this human need that we seek and try to put things in our lives to achieve happiness and contentment. And that is what the main theme through this is, that is the theme of life. It is to achieve happiness. It's something that God has placed within us. But even then, we hear here that even if we look at it, and the word for vanity here is hevel, the Hebrew word, and it tends to be more like vapor. It has a ton of meaning. It's used in different ways, but it's used the most of anything here in meaningless. You'll hear it's translated meaningless, folly, absurdity, vapor, and so it's got all these different ways it's used. But what it tends to mean is it's something that is of we maybe think has some, but it has nothing to it. It doesn't hold. It's shallow. That's what we're talking about when we talk about vanity here. Not vanity in terms of our egotistical pride, that kind of thing. Oh, I'm so vain about my hair. That's not the sense that we're saying here. But it's about meaning. It's about meaning and significance. So I want to make sure that we understand that. And so everything, this person has come up with the conclusion that everything is meaningless in that sense. But I would say, though, that we have learned, and especially like when we look through things of the New Testament and stuff, is that things that there is some meaning, that this is only partially true. And we always add in our maybe our Puritan-like approach to living in the West here, in America especially, is that American Christianity is that there's things, and there's meaning in sacrifice, there's meaning in giving up, there's meaning in doing for others, there's meaning in these things. But understand that this writer says you can do all those things. They're not going to fill you up and necessarily make you happy. And so I wonder about, and when we get into chapter 2, you'll hear some words about how that happiness even comes about and how we do find it if we're lucky enough to find it with that. But that here in this is only a partial truth, that life is absurd and meaningless. We know, I'll say it this way, we know that, courage and faith, it like through like even the coronavirus here, we're finding moments where we see that it's not meaningless, that people's works, think about the healthcare workers and those that are putting themselves on the line, that I would not say that that's meaningless. That's vanity in a sense. I can't go with the writer on this. That people's, now, is everything altruistic? That's not the point. People, we all get something out of everything we do. So there's no such thing as a perfectly altruistic action. I cannot believe that. There's nobody who's perfectly self-giving. Jesus was it, and that's the only one. But that I only think this is partially true. Many things are without meaning. Many chasings and things that we go after, certainly they're not there. But again, to go back and to find meaning and significance through things is not a through the things that we pursue in life. I like the doctors, nurses, teachers, people who business people, providing jobs and employment for people because they want people to do well. I don't think those are things that are necessarily devoid and are meaningless in and of themselves. They are, if we say that the ends are the means. that they are. I probably didn't say that right, but that's all there is. The end is the end. I don't believe so. So I would disagree with you on that, and say that partially. You're only partially right. So what do people gain from all the toil? Again, he's going back to like the Protestant work ethic, and I agree. I don't want about this. Like, so we work all our lives so that we can, get to retirement, or that we can gain it, or put away all this stuff, so we can save up for maybe to leave something to our kids, so that we can be remembered by and all that. And what I believe he's saying here is that, and I agree with this. Memories are short. Statues, we're arguing about taking statues down and stuff like this, where it's a Robert E. Lee or a Jackson or somebody else or whatever, those kinds of things. Listen, people don't know. People don't remember. Kids today walk around and say, well, who is that? They don't have a clue about such things. And that's not good or bad. It's just what it is. But these are short memories. The memories that matter to me, the ones that I want to build, the legacies that I want to build, are within my own children, to remember things that I've done that were worthy of remembering, when I did something that was worthwhile. Unlike, you would say, the teacher would say, oh, it doesn't matter, Roger, it's all vanity, it's all meaningless. I would say no, that those things do matter, because we create a legacy that way in the life that we live. Someone said you preach your own eulogy with the way that you live, and I have to agree with that. But so I don't think everything is just chasing the wind. I do resonate with what the writer says, the teacher says here about, and the sun goes around, another day comes up, and the wind blows, and it goes on. There is that tediousness, that boredom, this tick tock, tick tock, tick tock that goes through, that really does. I resonate. I feel that. I feel that today. I can tell you, with what's going on around here, because I'm looking out, and I think that people are asking questions like, what is the point? That even the things that we thought we've obtained, our houses, our bank accounts, that right now, with what has happened economically, dust. Around the world, people were with us that we treasured, and now they're gone. And we didn't even get to say goodbye properly. What's the point in all this, if this is what it comes to? Can you hear that question? That's a legitimate question. And that's what it sounds like the teacher was trying to get to. And that no matter what we do, no matter what we see, it's just not enough. No matter what we learn, it's not enough. We want more. And so there is something to us, maybe, for some of us, that we're never satisfied. And that, to me, more than anything, is the not the wrongful part, but it is the part of what he writes that rings true, is that, vain striving, meaningless striving means that we have to strive for the things that matter. Now, honestly, I'm all throughout this book now, nothing really matters. Okay? I'm thinking of Queen right now. Nothing really mattered to me. That's Kohelet all the way through right here. And so, is nothing new. Que sera, sera. Whatever will be, will be. That's not the sense that the writer puts out here. That's not what they're talking about in here. What he's talking about, and I want to find something that I know that I made one. Nothing new under the sun. That whatever will be, the latter's, because Yahweh says things like, I am what I am, or I am what I am becoming. There is a kind of a predestined plan thing here, that God has set into motion these things. So no matter what we do, is what he's saying, no matter what we do can change what's going on. The sun's going to still roll. The wind is still going to blow. Death is still going to occur. And that we're going to know. No matter what we do, we're going to come to the same fate every time. Death is there. Now, this is a pre-resurrection book. That it's not, and so like resurrection didn't develop as a religious concept, ideology, whatever you want to say it in Hebrew life until like from Daniel on, okay? And so that's something that was really prevalent in Jesus' time. It wasn't just like Jesus was the only one who talked about resurrection. It was a debate, and it was most of the Pharisees were resurrection people and thought of it that way. There would be life after, but that's not what this is. But then this is, so this writer, that's not part of his mind thinking, and maybe that would have changed what he had said in here. I don't know. No abiding faith, short memories. I believe that. So there's nothing that, to build to be remembered is. I agree that for me, that is striving to be. That is vain striving. That is meaningless, looking after things that don't really matter. But in the last piece, we'll wrap this up with that last section about where for in much wisdom is much vexation, and those who increase knowledge increase sorrow. That he's kind of maybe putting out that ignorance is bliss. If we just weren't wise and if we didn't, and for him, wisdom is understanding that everything is meaningless. That no matter what you do, it's not. It's if you're just trying to fill yourself, to add more to yourself, to you're always seeking that. If you're chasing, that you are like you're chasing the wind. So if you don't know that, you're okay. So if you're ignorant in your striving and you're happy to seeking and how you're going about it, I guess is what I might say, that you won't be as miserable because you're not going to know it. It won't, and what you don't know won't hurt you, kind of thing. But ignorance is bliss. From ignorance our comfort flows. The only wretched are the wise. A couple of little poem things that I found in there. But I don't believe that. I don't go there. I don't think ignorance is bliss. I think one of the writers, a modern writer, I'm going to translate this like Philip White, wrote, ignorance is not bliss, it's oblivion. And that we must continually strive to inform ourselves and learn and know. And, that's how we do grow. And that growing is not necessarily something that we seek just for happiness, but it's part of what God has placed into us, I believe. And it just gets shown in different ways with different people. So as we read that first chapter, I hope that you are. I don't think you're going to be uplifted by the words themselves, but I encourage you to argue with the writer, with the teacher, as much as possible. But also, too, to look around you and look at what is going on in our world, in our circumstances now. Even looking back through your past and finding those moments in life when you felt similarly, that there was some despair, that there was, and you're wondering, what's the point? Is anything I do really, really worth it? And then think about what it was that got you through that part, that brought you out of that, and even made you maybe say, like, no, that's just not true. I'll learn more about this, or learn more about me in this as we go through it. Because that's going to be the value in this, I believe, in Ecclesiastes. Not taking his dark words to heart and making them our own, but it's bouncing ourselves off of them and trying to come to grips with what he writes in light of what we believe as people of the New Testament and people who do believe that fate is not our destiny, but that new life now and beyond is ours as God's gift. Okay? Hey, let's close with prayer. Oh Lord, keep our friends well and healthy. Keep our attitudes to be one of gratitude for the things that we have not earned, the place that we live, the surroundings of the mountains and the beauty that is here, but not so distant from us that we know that there is much pain and that there is maybe even a sense of chaos and disorder and much anxiety. But in our places here, help us to be healthy of mind and body. mostly of spirit. And may we seek new ways to serve you in the world that we have in the days ahead. In your Son's name I pray. Amen. All right. Bless you. Have a great day. And if you need something, give me a call, email me, send me a note on here. But please make your thoughts known. Read Ecclesiastes 1 and let me know what you're thinking about it.